with an inside look at the hottest action from the world of sports. This is Fox 54 Sports Extra. Now, your hosts, Mo Carter and Nick Kuzma.
What's up, everyone? Can you feel it? Football season is so close, and Nick and I want to make sure that you're getting ready for it. That's why we're here with our Sports Extra special, a look at SEC 2025.
A team from the Southeastern Conference has not won a national championship in 2 years, and some folks are saying that's too long. Tonight, we'll show you which teams could be in the running.
Absolutely. Now, following a legendary coach is never an easy task. And for Kalen DeBoer, that task was about 7 times tougher than anyone as it began. His tenure in Tuscaloosa taking over for the great Nick Saban. The Crimson Tide did win 9 games, but they came up short on many of their goals. Alabama began the season with a 4-0 record and went to the #1 spot in the nation. But then there were losses to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Those losses derailed their chances of making the SEC title game and the college football playoff. Coach DeBoer explained why it is important for the Tide to take advantage of their experiences and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, we fell short. Our guys, again, I'm proud of them and the way they've responded to, us, not realizing the goals that we, set out to have and getting back just to work, focusing on the main thing. I feel that's always been the case, but sometimes there's just ups and downs you got to go through, unfortunately, that we had to experience. But in the end, we're going to take advantage of the failures we've had and be better because of it.
All right, Luke Robinson from Locked On Bama has been following the Crimson Tide since the beginning. He chatted with our very own Nick Kuzma before the quarterback announcement and talked about Kalen DeBoer's upcoming season at the Capstone.
Luke, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show. What do you think about Alabama this year?
I'm excited. First of all, thanks for having me. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that this is going to be a good year. I'm loving the reports that are coming out of camp. I think that, this has a chance to be Kalen DeBoer's team. Last year, there certainly was a transition period. And, you go from the greatest college football coach of all time to anybody. There's going to be some difficulties.
As you look back, though, on 2024, 2025, what would you say are the 3 biggest accomplishments of DeBoer year 1, and what were the 3 biggest downfalls of DeBoer year 1?
Well, I mean, the 3 biggest downfalls, I think, are pretty easy. I think it's Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Michigan. I mean, you can throw Tennessee in there. Obviously, Alabama had some problems, but if you want to narrow it down a little more specifically, I think it's turnovers. That would be 1, 2, and 3 in my book, honestly, because if you cut Alabama's turnovers in half, specifically interceptions, I think Alabama's easily in the playoffs and maybe one of the top 4 seeds. Now, in terms of accomplishments, I think those are a little bit easier. First of all, the Georgia win was absolutely huge. And I think it gives everybody something to hang their hat on, right? The LSU game, same thing. Although, looking back, the LSU game may have been some fool's gold because we still had a lot of problems. I think we wrote it off, number 1, because we won so big, and number 2, because it was the weather conditions weren't great, so we excused maybe some of the passing mishaps. And then, of course, the next week at Oklahoma, those things reared their ugly head. So, and then the other accomplishment, recruiting. I mean, he still put together, by some sources, the number 2, number 3, or number 4 class in the country.
The guy who is maybe going to be the biggest reason on if Alabama commits turnovers or not is, of course, the starting quarterback. It very much looks like Ty Simpson's going to be the guy. At the time we're recording this is Monday. He's not been named yet officially, but it very much looks like he's going to be the starter. Do you feel like if he is named the starter that Alabama's in good hands?
I do. I'll also be totally transparent. At when Keelan Russell committed and then ultimately signed with Alabama, I was thinking this is going to be Keelan Russell's gig. I really did. I believe in that kid that much. But Ty Simpson has sort of slowly but surely won me over completely. Now, I love Ty Simpson being on the team. I do. He was a former 5-star himself. People forget that. He's also the son of a coach. I know he's working his tail off. His dad had an interview recently where he talked about, hey, I know he goes to bed at 9 and gets up at 5 in the morning to go to the facility to watch film because I'm a coach and I'm doing those same things. And I'm talking to him on the phone just before bed or just when he's getting up in the morning to go to the facility. I believe in Ty Simpson. I really do. And really, Ryan Williams appears to believe in Ty Simpson a lot. He's been singing his praises. And if Ryan Williams says it, I think all Alabama fans are going to get on board at this point.
Let's flip to the other side of the ball now. Big picture defense, Kane Womack heading into year number 2 down in Tuscaloosa. Defensively, times look really great. At times, they just couldn't get off the field on the big third down, the big fourth down last year. How do you expect that unit as a whole to really pair out this year?
The one thing I'll say about that, I've heard a lot of folks say, "Hey, they couldn't get off the field, couldn't get off the field." I think we all get that Vanderbilt game stuck in our heads and can't get it out. I think that's the one game where they just the defense just wasn't checked in totally. And I get it because they came off the Georgia game, but I'm also not used to it as a Bama fan because Nick Saban always said every game is the same and yada yada yada. But for the most part, the defense played well, even the Oklahoma game. Alabama loses that game in infamous fashion, but the defense for Oklahoma is really what the problem was. It wasn't the defense for Alabama necessarily. So I think this defense is going to be in really good shape. I love guys like Quay Russell. If James Smith can get healthy, he was held out of this last scrimmage, but I think he's going to have a big year. I love Tim Keenan, and I love the fact that Tim Keenan was taken to SEC Media Days because he's one of those guys that deserves his time in the spotlight. And big fan of the defensive line, and the defensive backfield, while young, I think in some spots, they've got a lot of talent.
Season prediction for Alabama in 2025, 2026.
Well, I try to save my official prediction for a little later, but I think right now I'm stuck on 10-2. 10-2, 100% gets you in the playoffs. 10-2 might be enough to be playing for an SEC title. I don't want to predict much past that, but I think this team has the talent, has the horses and the leadership to go deep into the playoffs if they get in the playoffs, and I believe they will. I think the schedule does set up nicely. I love the fact that Ty Simpson doesn't get a soup can at home to start out with. He has to go on the road and play a Power 4 team. Yes, Florida State went 2-10 last year. They've got their own set of problems, but it's going to be a raucous environment. I'm going to be there. It's going to be 115 degrees, I'm sure, and it's going to be tough. So it's going to be enough of a challenge for him to gain some confidence. But if I'm going to go 10-2, I'd say my losses are Georgia and Auburn.
There you have it. That's Luke Robinson, locked on Alabama. He's thinking 10-2. The Alabama Crimson Tide open up the regular season at Tallahassee, Florida. It is their first time opening with a true road game in more than 20 years. Kickoff is at 2:30 down in Tallahassee.
All right, we're just getting started on our Sports Extra special. Coming up next, we'll head down to the Plains and check in with Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, now 2024 was not a fun year on the Plains if you an Auburn Tigers fan. The Tigers mustering a 5-7 record in Hugh Freeze's second season. 5 of those 7 losses were by 10 points or less. Coach Freeze and his staff worked hard in the offseason, bringing in another top 10 recruiting class, which included Oklahoma transfer Jackson Arnold. Freeze says that his team has learned from prior mistakes, and that's why he expects the squad to compete on a high level in 2025.
We're expecting being a really good football team that competes in every single game and has a chance to win every game. And hopefully we're better in those critical moments and we flip some of those close losses into wins, and we're expecting of that. And hopefully our kids are following that. And, I'm teaching a proverb a day, keep stupid away during camp, and hopefully that impacts all of us also in life and in football.
So will the Tigers be a contender or pretender? Nick caught up with Mike Giddens from the War Report and Locked On Podcast Network for much more with Hugh Freeze and company.
I think that it is a do-or-die season for Auburn. The first 2 years definitely were subpar for Hugh Freeze. But what they did do well was they recruited well. And that recruiting has got to pay off in wins this season.
This is year 3 for Hugh Freeze. The expectation for Auburn fans seems to be we are not okay with a 500 season anymore. Of course, 6-7 in year 1, 5-7 in year 2. What realistically do you think needs to happen on the field this year for Auburn fans to feel like, okay, legitimate progress was made and we'll keep moving forward?
Well, the bar has kind of moved. So You fired Gus Malzahn because you were not okay with 8-4 seasons, and he was good for that almost every single year. So you bring Hugh Freeze in after that 2-year stint with Brian Harsin, and then NIL becomes a thing. And you have to look at what they have on paper. It's actually pretty remarkable. So I think fans now are expecting somewhere with Auburn in the conversation come November. They've got to be in the conversation come November. And now what does that look like? That means that in their first 6 games, they need to clean that slate. I think 3-3 would be disappointing. You got Baylor, Ball State, South Alabama to kick off your season, and then you open SEC play Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia. If they can get out of that 4-2, Nick, you have a chance after Georgia to really do some damage and go into the Iron Bowl as an 8 or 9 win team. And come November, Auburn needs to be in the discussion. The precedent has been set. 10 wins in the SEC gets you in the playoff.
Now let's talk about continuity, right? That's so important in football. Year 2 now, year 3 for Hugh Freeze, year 2 with Hugh Freeze, Derek Nixon, DJ Durkin. How important is that continuity? And do you think it's going to finally pay off this year?
Continuity is king. The opportunity to keep your coordinators, to keep most of your staff together. And look, you mentioned DJ Durkin. Auburn made him the second highest paid assistant in the country this offseason for a reason. That defense did a great job, all things considered, last year, keeping Auburn in football games. If you look at the 7 games that they lost, nobody really ran away from Auburn on the scoreboard. It was actually remarkable. Yeah, they lost to Vanderbilt 17-7. And everyone says, oh, Diego Pavia is the Hugh Freeze Slayer. Well, he went 9 for 22 in that ball game, and they only posted 17 points. If anything, he's the Kalen DeBoer Slayer because he posted 40 on the board in Alabama's defense. I think that if Auburn can hold serve defensively and the offense can step it up, they've got a chance to be really, really good this year. And this schedule provides the opportunity for them to have some tests early, figure out what kind of football team they are, and then ride that potential streak after the Georgia game, as you mentioned. Home versus Missouri, on the road versus Arkansas. You got Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mercer. The most winnable stretch of Auburn football I think I've seen in 25 years.
Let's talk about Jackson Arnold. His numbers don't jump off the page at you from last year at Oklahoma. About 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Do you like Jackson Arnold to lead this offense? Is Auburn in good hands?
I think that potentially, yes. You got to look at his situation in Oklahoma last year. No, the numbers don't jump off the page. Their entire wide receiver room got hurt last year. The offensive line was a mess. The offensive coordinator got fired midseason. Jackson Arnold was a part of a really chaotic system last year, and he's going to have stability on the plains. Now, Hugh Freeze said a scout told him that 6 of his linemen on this roster would receive draftable grades. If they play to that potential, then Jackson Arnold's going to have a lot more time to throw the ball than he had at Oklahoma last year. So hopefully what we see is a poised Jackson Arnold. But I think what's important for fans to know is how they built this team. The idea behind this team was, let's raise the floor around him. Let's get him the best wide receivers. Let's get him all SEC caliber running backs. And then let's call plays in a manner that he can succeed and have a very high floor for failure. The issue with Auburn has been the difference between the ceiling and the floor has been so large. And you've got to tighten that down. You've got to raise that floor to where, hey, look, in the worst of scenarios, we're winning 7 games. And the best of scenarios, we're in the college football playoff.
2025, 2026. I don't know if you've made it officially yet on your podcast, but if it's got to be unofficial, that's fine. But as of right now, what is your prediction for the 2025, 2026 season in terms of record, postseason, what have you?
Funny that you ask. We do a segment called Boss Toss Loss. The boss column are the guaranteed wins. In the toss are the, we don't know. And then there's the loss column. The only game I have in the loss column for Auburn this year is Georgia. Now, there were 5 games in the toss column, and I expect that Auburn is going to win some and lose some. That's going to put the Tigers at 8-4, which is right where Hugh Freeze needs to be to erase questions about the trajectory of the program. I'll tell you, if they have their quarterback 8-4, will feel a little disappointing. My official prediction is 9-3. I think that they finish that first 6-game stretch 4-2, and then they go on that win streak that we talked about, 5 straight wins after Georgia. And maybe if there's a disappointing loss in there, I would not put it past the Tigers to pull out the Iron Bowl at home in Jordan-Hare. A little Auburn Jesus action to end the season is just what Hugh Freeze needs, man, to keep expectations high headed into 2027.
All right, Auburn kicks off the regular season August 29th at Baylor. It's at 7 p.m. You can watch the game actually right here on Fox 54, which will lead into First Down Friday Night, our high school football show right here on Fox 54. That is Mike Giddens. He's with Auburn War Report. He is also with Locked On UCF. So if you want to check him out on that channel, you can as well. He's part of the Tegna family. Mike, thank you so much. Let's have a great football season.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
All right, earning a spot in the college football playoff is a season-long goal for many, but so is winning the SEC title. I'll take a look at some of the SEC's contenders when we return.
Welcome back. Texas was selected by the media as the preseason favorite to win the SEC title, but a number of teams could also vie for the crown in Atlanta. Mo Carter names a few.
We'll start off with LSU. Brian Kelly entering his 4th year down on the Bayou, and this may be his best team yet. LSU will be led by second-year starting quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. He's got a lot of weapons around him for LSU to be quite successful in 2025.
The expectations are always high, and we've got some outstanding players. You know, I think you start always with the quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier. Now, I would tell you that experience is going to be his best teacher in the SEC. He brings that individual trait that coaches love.
Over in Columbia, South Carolina, they are playing Beamer ball for Shane Beamer. The son of Frank Beamer is looking to continue momentum with the South Carolina Gamecocks following last year's 9-win season, which included a dramatic last-minute down-to-the-wire victory at Clemson. With Lenora Sellers leading the way, Beamer feels that his team could be back in Atlanta come this December.
Absolutely. It's attainable, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it was. I didn't come here to go 7-5 every year. I came to South Carolina to compete for championships, and we're there, and we're continuing to develop and get better as well.
Kirby Smart entering year 10 at his alma mater. The Bulldogs entering media days as the reigning champs for the first time since 2022. This year, Georgia will be led by quarterback Gunnar Stockton, a signal caller who stepped into action for last year's SEC football championship and in the college football playoffs. When comparing the 2025 Georgia team to others, here's what Kirby Smart had to say.
Youth, energy. I've seen it in the practices, a lot of enthusiasm. It's just a different team. I felt like last year's team was very much like the year before's team. I think we had so many people back, and this team's so different. There's just a little more energy and buzz when a guy's doing it the first time. This makes you a little more, I guess, exuberant, and I'm excited at practice and want to see these guys have fun.
Georgia knocked off Texas in overtime to win the SEC football championship last season. And in 2025, the Longhorns are expected to be back in Atlanta. Former Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian entering year 5 in Austin. And this year, the Longhorns are ready to get past the semifinal round of the CFP. Texas will be led by former 5-star quarterback Arch Manning. The nephew of Peyton and Eli Manning has waited his turn, and now it's time for him to shine. Sark shared thoughts with us on what he thinks Manning can do in his first year as the true starter.
And I think the one thing that you find out about Arch is, one, he's got a very even keel about him. 2, he's very quick-witted. He's got a great sense of humor about himself, and he's okay to laugh at himself. And I think that that's a great quality to have. And I think if he stays true to himself, that's going to help him navigate these waters as they present themselves.
A lot of questions for the Tennessee Vols after the departure of Nico Iamaleava, who took off for the West Coast and UCLA. Tennessee Vols head coach Josh Heupel handling all questions about who'll be QB1 this season.
It's a competition every single day. That's how you handle yourself. That's how you handle success. It's how you handle a bad play. It's the mastering and control and command of what we're doing offensively. All three of those guys know that they're going to get their opportunities. I think it's really important for everybody on your roster to understand that the best players are going to play, and you have to go earn it. I think that's important.
Well, there's a slew of great games to watch out for in 2025. So which one are our favorites? Find out next.
Welcome back, everyone. If you want to check out extended interviews that took place between Nick Kuzma and Luke Robinson, or Nick Kuzma and Mike Giddens from the Locked On Podcast Network, just head over to our app, FOX54 Plus. Download on your smart TV and stream it for free. All right, we usually do best of the week at this point of the show, but instead we're going with our must-see matchups in the conference for 2025.
Yeah, the best of the weeks ahead, sort of, right? That's what we'll go with. Well, I think it begins and ends mine with Texas-Georgia, a rematch of last year's SEC Championship overtime thriller. It's actually the first time that these teams will ever meet in Athens, just the 8th meeting, in what could eventually turn into a Southeastern Conference rivalry. The profile of the program certainly makes this one appealing, but it's really the November 15th date that really sticks for me. It'll be the final SEC game of the regular season for the Georgia Bulldogs and the third to last for the Longhorns, meaning a conference title game appearance could be on the line for one of these teams or one of the other teams behind them, in front of them, what have you, in the standings.
And they both played epic games last year against each other. For me, I'm going with a mid-October battle down on the Bayou, LSU hosting South Carolina. This will definitely be a top 25 matchup, maybe a top 15 battle. It'll feature Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers, two quarterbacks who could be in the running for a trip to New York at the Heisman Trophy. The LSU-South Carolina game is set for October 11th.
And LSU's got some really entertaining games coming up. Of course, they're going to come to Alabama. They're going to play South Carolina in opening against Clemson. I mean, right off the bat, wow. I mean, that's a good one.
It's definitely a big year for Brian Kelly and company. Also a big year for Hugh Freeze. Also a big year for the Alabama Crimson Tide and Kalen DeBoer. I can't wait to check it out each and every week.
Oh, it's so great. Let's get our popcorn. Get ready, folks. It's almost here.
Indeed. That'll do it for another edition of our Sports Extra Special, a look at SEC 2025. We'll see you at the games. Have a great night.